Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Destiny Gabrielle with eXp Realty. And I've been getting a lot of requests for help with just studying and getting your real estate license. So I thought I would try this out and see how it goes over with you guys. And this video is called Helpful Short Stuff. So some of the things that you'll find in this video are some of the acronyms or mnemonic devices that I used to help me study. It won't cover every single thing. It'll just give you the highlight. And then depending on how you guys respond and how it goes, I will make this a series and I will come up with a couple more videos that'll go further in depth. So I hope you enjoy. So just a quick disclaimer. These videos are not a replacement for studying or classwork. I am not a licensed North Carolina real estate instructor. I'm just a real estate broker who is here to help other aspiring brokers with helpful information. Please use at your own discretion. All right, with that being said, let's get into the very first topic, which is going to be the real characteristics of real property. So this mnemonic device is IIU. So the first I is immobility, meaning you cannot move it. I for indestructibility, you can't destroy it. And U for uniqueness. So there's no two parcels of land that are exactly the same. So the next one is economic characteristics of property. The first letter being S for scarcity, L for location, I for improvements, P for permanence of investment. The next topic is factors that affect demand, which is L for labor force, C for construction costs, G for governmental controls, and F for financial policies. The next one is factors affecting supply, which is P for population, D for demographics, E for employment and wage levels. The next topic is bundle of legal rights. So this one is going to spell out deep C. The D for disposition, E for enjoyment, E for exclusion, P for possession, and C for control. So anytime you have a question about bundle of legal rights, all 5 of these would be what you're looking for. Next, we're going to talk water rights. So this is riparian water rights, which is rivers, streams, and small lakes. So if it's non-tidal navigable, you own to the water's edge, which means that the water itself belongs to the public. If it's non-tidal, non-navigable, you're going to own to the center, which means it's private property. Next is littoral water rights, which is large lakes, oceans, etc. So these are going to be tidal waters. They're going to also be navigable, and your property line is the mean high water mark. All right, so we're going to talk about the total circumstances test, which will determine if it is a fixture. This is one of those things that there was a lot of different questions about this very basic idea. So if you get this, you're going to have a good chunk of the test. So the first one is I for intent, R for relationship, M for method, and A for adaptability. So intent is what was the intent that the property was attached. R for the relationship, was it the owner or a tenant? M for method is how is it attached to the home or attached to the property? And A is adaptability. So was it made, was it custom made for this exact piece of property? Another very, very, very big topic is ownership and the different types of ownership. So this is going to be not necessarily a mnemonic device, but it's going to be some very important pieces of information. And we're going to start with freehold estates, meaning you own it. So we have these different types of freehold estates. The gold standard, which is fee simple absolute with no limit on time or use. We have fee simple defeasible. Fee simple determinable, which means it could be used for one reason or in one way. Then we've got fee simple subject to condition subsequent, which means you can use it in 100 ways except one. And then you have the estate pour autre vie, which is for the life of another. So it's a life estate. And then you've got the conventional life estate. So, of course, if we talk about freehold estates, we've got to go over non-freehold estates, which is your rental type of ownerships. The first one is estate for years. Second one is estate from year to year. Estate at will. And estate at sufferance. So you want to make sure you know the definition of all four of those. All right, so if we're talking about ownership, we have to talk about deeds. So the first one we're going to go over, which is more of a more common one, which is a general warranty deed and what comes with it. So you have the covenant of season and right to convey, the covenant against encumbrances, the covenant of further assistance, and the covenant of warranty forever. The next type is going to be a special warranty deed, which will grant that the grantor received the title and that the property was not encumbered by the grantor, which means it could have been encumbered by a previous owner, but not by the grantor in this specific transaction. The next one is the quit claim and bargain and sale deeds. And it implies that the grantor holds the title in possession but has no warranty, so it guarantees you nothing. All right, one of the quick ones that I just wanted to add for math purposes, you will have some questions that talk about this, is knowing how many square feet are in an acre. And this is kind of a random number, so this is the way that I remember it. So 1 acre equals 43,560 square feet. And the way that I remember it is 4 old ladies doing 35 in a 60. So 43560. And that's just a quick little one that helped me remember how many square feet an acre. Next, I did adverse possession, which will spell out ocean. So it has to be open, meaning it's not a secret. Continuous, meaning there's no breaks in the possession. E, exclusive. So one person. It can't be mother, brother, sister, uncle. It has to be one person. It has to be adverse or actual, meaning it has to be against the owner's wishes. And N for notorious. All right, the next one is instruments that should be, keyword should be recorded. So we've got deeds, restrictive covenants, easements, assignments, mortgages, options to purchase, installment land contracts, and leases for longer than 3 years. So that spells out dream oil. So that's another one of those mnemonic devices that I use like to this day. So the Connor Act. So you're going to have a lot of questions around the Connor Act. So the Connor Act basically says whoever records first owns the property. So if I sell Bob and Sue a house, I sell Bob a house at 301 and Sue a house at 303, but Sue makes it to the courthouse to record the deed faster than Bob, Sue owns the house. Basically meaning we are a pure race state. All right, next is the makeup of the North Carolina Real Estate Commission. So the way that you want to remember this is there's 9 total members. So if it says there's 10, the question is wrong. The answer is wrong. 9 total members. The breakdown of those 9 is 7 appointed by the governor, 1 appointed by the Speaker of the House, and 1 appointed by the President pro temp. So just some little bit of extra stuff that also I came across was the rules of how they are there. So there are 3-year terms, staggered terms, meaning all 9 don't come out at the same time. They're staggered between the 9. 3 of them have to be licensees, and 2 cannot engage in real estate at all. Because you know that the whole purpose of the North Carolina Real Estate Commission is to protect the public. So we have to have people that are actually there for the public, to give us the public's eye or vision. The next one is the way that the North Carolina Real Estate Commission disciplines licensees. So they can reprimand, they can censure, they can suspend, and they can revoke. They cannot fine licensees. Now, there's going to be a slight caveat to that a little bit further down, but remember that for licensees. Speaking of licensees, we need to talk about who needs a license. So this one is going to spell out LL Beans. So the first L being lists, the second L being leases, the B being for buys, the E for exchanges, the A for auctions, the N for negotiates, and the S for sales. Remember the last part of this. For others, for money. The for others part, do not forget that. So if the question says, Destiny bought a house for herself, does she need a license? No. Because Destiny and Destiny is the same person. So make sure you remember that part. Okay, so that slight caveat that I talked about with being the North Carolina Real Estate Commission fining licensees, this is where that caveat comes into play right here. We're going to talk about timeshares. And you have to remember the rule of the 5s, which I'm going to tell you right now. So the rule of timeshares is it has to be occupied 5 times over 5 years. 5 times over 5 years is not the same thing as 10 times over 10 years. So if it says 10 times over 10 years, that's not the same thing. The next one, purchases have a 5-day right of rescission, meaning it's basically like a return policy. Now, the third one, the money has to be deposited in a trust for 10, which is 5 times 2 days. And then this is where that caveat comes into play. Developers can be fined $500 per violation. So the rule of 5s. So if once you get that down and you going over your notes and you see timeshares, remember, Destiny said the rule of the 5s. All right, so now what are the agency duties to a client? This is going to spell out old car, so let's get started. O for obedience, L for loyalty, D for disclosure, C for confidentiality, A for accountability, and R for reasonable skill and care. So those are what we should do. Now let's talk about what we should not do. Prohibited agent conduct. So there's only four different types of conduct that you could be charged with, we're going to use in quotes, when it comes to prohibited agent conduct. I cannot speak today, guys. So the first one is willful omission. We've got negligent omission, willful misrepresentation, and negligent misrepresentation. Now, these are big words and we're going to break it down really quick. Omission and misrepresentation means, did you or did you not say something? If the question says, Destiny did not tell Sue that there was a mold issue in the house, that means Destiny did not say something. So she didn't misrepresent anything because she didn't say it to start with. Now, if I knew and didn't say anything, that would be willful. If I did not know, but I also didn't try to find out, that would be negligent. Now, if I told you that the house had 5 bedrooms and it only had 4, I said something, so that is a misrepresentation. Now we just need to figure out whether I knew about it or I didn't, whether it was on purpose or if it was an accident. So if it was willful, that means I knew better. If it was negligent, it means I didn't try enough. That's the way you can remember those. Don't make that harder than it needs to be, because I definitely did. So we're going to now go to contracts. So let's talk about the most important, absolutely necessary pieces of a contract. A contract must be voluntary. It can't be under duress. Can't force somebody, hold a gun to their head and make them sign a contract. That is not legal. It needs to be an agreement or a promise. It has to be between legally competent parties. Has to be supported by legal consideration, and it has to be for a legal act. So you can't have a contract and take somebody to court for not performing on an illegal contract, meaning selling drugs or things like that. Now, those are the things a contract must be. Let's talk about the different statuses of a contract. The first one being valid. That means all essential elements of a contract are present. It could also be void. Does not meet the essential elements, which means it's not a contract. Voidable. It may be rescinded or disaffirmed by one of the parties. And the last one is unenforceable. While all the essential elements are there, neither party can sue. So an example of that would be an oral contract. Okay, next thing, let's talk about elements of value. We've got demand, utility, scarcity, and transferability. That spells out dust. All right, the next one, income capitalization approach to value. We are going to have our gross income subtracted by vacancy, subtracted by expenses, and we are left with our net operating income, which will be called your NOI. So if you want to find a value, that is the NOI divided by your capitalization rate, and that's how you would get your value. So that's Regulation Z dictates. Talking about truth in lending. So disclosure requirements in credit transactions, including the disclosure of annual, obviously I can't speak. Disclosure requirements in credit transactions, including the disclosure of the APR, your annual percentage rate. We got Regulation X, which talks about RESPA, which is talking about kickbacks and disclosures of different costs and things like that when it comes to you, to your client. All right. One of the biggest parts that I had to learn was fair housing. So there is a mnemonic device, but before we get into it, I just want to give you some of the key pieces that you have to know about fair housing before we talk about the protected classes, which will reveal our mnemonic device. So we've got the Federal Civil Rights Act of 1866, and that applies to race and color. And then we got the Federal Fair Housing Act of 1968 that now has 4 protected classes, which are race, color, religion, national origin. Next is the Protection of Sex, which was added in 1974. And then we've got the Federal Fair Housing Amendment Act of 1988, which added that handicap protection and familiar status protection. And remember that familial status does not mean whether you're married, it just means that you have children. So speaking of that, let's go ahead and talk about your protected classes. And this will spell out fresh corn without the E and the O. So we got familial status, which is kids, race, sex, handicap, color, religion, and national origin. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to write that out. All right, so I guess you guys can pause it anytime, as much as you want, rewind it as much as you need to, and write down what you need. But I am done here. So again, my name is Destiny Gabrielle, and this is just one of the short videos that I have created to help with studying. If you have questions, I know a lot of you have reached out already, but if you have questions, if you need any help, if you want more study videos like this one, give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe and you share. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers is my goal. So if we can do that, I will freaking be over the moon. But in the meantime, I hope that you are having a good day. I hope your classes are going well. And if I can do it, you can do it. Peace out, y'all.